After paying for my son's studies, he uninvited me from his graduation. "If you're curious, watch it on Google Meet so you don't clash with the atmosphere," he said. That night, he published a photo that said, "Only the important ones." A week later, he called me desperate. 30 missed calls. After 22 years of being a father, I discovered that my son saw me as a walking ATM. The call came on a Tuesday afternoon. I was finishing my second shift at the warehouse, with my hands still dirty with grease and my body aching. My phone vibrated, and I saw Sebastian's name on the screen. My heart filled with pride, as it always did when my son called me. After all, he was graduating with a degree in industrial engineering in just a week. 5 years of study that had cost every cent I could gather. "Hello, Dad," he said to me with that voice that sounded different, more distant. "I need to talk to you about the graduation." "Of course, son," I replied, while wiping my hands on my overalls. "I already have everything ready. I even bought a new shirt for the occasion. I wanted to see you receive that diploma that cost us so much." That's when my world collapsed. "Look, Dad, the thing is, I've been thinking. The ceremony is going to be very elegant, very formal. Many important people from the business sector will be present, potential employers, and, well, you know how the atmosphere of these events is." I didn't understand where the conversation was going. "What do you mean by that, Sebastian?" "What happens is that I think it would be better if you don't come. If you're curious, you can watch it on Google Meet so you don't clash with the atmosphere." The words hit me like a hammer to the chest. I felt as if the ground was opening up beneath my feet. Clash. That word stuck in my brain like a rusty nail. "I can't be hearing this, right?" I told him. "Sebastian, I'm your father. I've worked like an animal for 5 years to pay for that degree. 2 jobs, loans. I've even sold my car so you wouldn't lack anything. Dad, don't make it harder than it already is. It's just an event. You can watch it online, and then we'll celebrate at home calmly." Calmly? As if it were something normal? As if it were reasonable for a father not to be able to see his son graduate because his presence was embarrassing? At that moment, all those years flashed through my mind like a movie. Sebastian was 7 years old when his mother abandoned us. Since then, it was nights working double shifts, sleeping 3 hours to pay for the private school where he wanted to study. I sold my motorcycle, the only valuable thing I had, to buy him that laptop he needed. When he got sick in his second year, I took out a loan for the expensive medications. I skipped meals so he could have lunch at the university with his classmates. I bought second-hand clothes while he had the best brands to fit in with everyone. All of that went through my head as I held the phone with a trembling hand. "Sebastian," I murmured, "I'm your father." "I know, Dad, but understand my position. The directors of the best companies will be present. I can't afford to make a bad first impression." "A bad first impression?" His father was a bad first impression? I hung up the phone without saying goodbye. I stood there in the warehouse parking lot, watching my coworkers go home. Carlos, the supervisor, approached and noticed something was wrong. "What's wrong, buddy?" he asked me. "You look like you've seen a ghost." I couldn't tell him. I couldn't tell him that my son, the very one for whom I had sacrificed everything, had forbidden me to go to his graduation because he considered me an embarrassment. That night, I couldn't sleep. I tossed and turned in bed, remembering every sacrifice, every moment of pride when Sebastian told me about his good grades, every time I bragged to the neighbors about how smart my son was. The next day, I tried to call him. I wanted to reason with him, explain to him what it meant for me to be there. But he didn't answer. I sent him messages. He didn't reply either. 2 days passed in total silence. On Friday night, while I was browsing Facebook to distract myself from the pain, I saw something that finished breaking my heart. Sebastian had uploaded a photo of himself in his graduation gown, smiling next to several classmates and their families, all elegantly dressed, posing for what looked like a pre-ceremony dinner. The caption on the photo said, "Only the important ones. Only the important ones." There they all were, his girlfriend, Andrea, whom I had met and treated like a daughter, his university classmates, several of whom had eaten at my house during his college years, his best friend's mom, who always greeted me cordially when we met. Everyone was important. Everyone except me. I read the comments. Congratulations, pride, good wishes. Andrea had commented, the ones who really matter are here. I stared at the screen until my eyes welled up. It wasn't just that he hadn't invited me, it was that he had made my exclusion public, something he felt proud of. That night, for the first time in 5 years, I didn't worry about Sebastian. I didn't think about him. I didn't wonder how he had done on his final exams. I didn't plan how we were going to celebrate his graduation. For the first time, I felt something different towards my son, something I never thought I would feel, a mixture of disappointment, pain, and something deeper, something that closely resembled contempt. I poured myself a drink of the cheap whiskey I kept for special occasions and toasted alone to all the lost years, to all the wasted sacrifices, to discovering that the son for whom I had given everything saw me as something to be ashamed of. I didn't know then that in a week everything was going to change, that my phone was going to ring 30 times in a row, that the voice that had humiliated me was going to sound desperate, pleading, that life was going to teach my son a lesson I never could. A week after the graduation, my phone started ringing like crazy. It was a Saturday morning. I was having coffee in the kitchen when the first call came at 8:30 in the morning. Sebastian. I didn't answer. 5 minutes later, another call. I didn't answer either. By 10 in the morning, I had already counted 15 missed calls. My phone wouldn't stop vibrating on the kitchen table. Sebastian's name appeared over and over on the screen. Each vibration was like a small revenge. Now he wanted to talk to me. Now I was important. I poured myself another coffee and sat down to watch the news, completely ignoring the commotion being made on my table. Call number 18, 19, 20. At 11:30, the phone rang again. This time it was a number I didn't recognize. I answered, thinking it might be from work. Dad, please answer the phone. It's me, from Andrea's phone. I need to talk to you urgently. I hung up immediately. 2 minutes later, another call from the same number. This time I didn't answer. Then he called again from his phone, and again, and again. By 1 in the afternoon there were already 30 missed calls. The 31st, I answered. Not because I felt sorry, but because curiosity was killing me. What could be so urgent that the son who was ashamed of me was now calling me like a desperate man? Dad, thank God. Please don't hang up. His voice sounded different, broken, scared. What do you want, Sebastian? Dad, I'm in trouble. Very serious trouble. I need your help. Oh, now you need my help? How convenient. Please don't be like that. It's very serious. I don't know what to do. I told him he had 5 minutes to explain what was wrong. And what I heard left me cold, though not for the reasons he expected. It turns out that my genius son, my son who graduated with honors, my son who was too elegant for me to attend his ceremony, had debts everywhere. And they weren't small debts. During the last 2 years of university, he had been taking out additional student loans without telling me anything. But he hadn't used them for studies. He had used them to maintain a lifestyle he couldn't afford, an expensive apartment near the university, a new model car, designer clothes, dinners in expensive restaurants with Andrea and his friends. But that wasn't all. He had also taken out 3 credit cards. He had them all maxed out. The total of his debts was almost $40,000. And now the banks were pressuring him. They had given him 30 days to catch up on payments, or they were going to proceed with legal action. They were going to repossess his car. They were going to evict him from the apartment. They were going to ruin his credit history before he could even get a job. Dad, I can't get a job with a ruined credit history. No serious company will hire me like this. My career would be over before it started. While he told me all this, I remained silent. Not out of shock, but processing the information. My son had been lying for 2 years. He had been living a life of luxury while I was killing myself, working to pay for his university. thinking he was sacrificing and studying hard. And now that the consequences arrived, now that he needed someone to rescue him, he remembered he had a father. "How much do you need?" I asked. "To get completely out of debt, $42,000. But if I could get at least half, I could negotiate payment plans for the rest." $42,000. The equivalent of a year and a half of my gross salary working both shifts. "Dad, I know it's a lot of money, but you've always said you'd do anything for me. And I promise I'll pay you back every cent when I get a job. I'll pay you back everything with interest. I promise." The same word he had used when he was a child and broke something. The same word he used when he arrived late and I worried. "I promise, Dad." Empty promises from a boy who had never had to face real consequences. "I need to think about it," I told him. "Dad, there's no time to think. I need the money this week, or they'll proceed with everything. Please, I need an answer now." "I told you I need to think about it. I'll call you later." I hung up and sat in the kitchen, looking at the phone. $42,000. A lot of money. His eyes lit up with hope. "Dad, I knew I could count on you. You're the best father in the world. I promise you." "I've also been thinking about other things," I interrupted him. "Like the fact that for 2 years you lied to me about your financial situation." His expression changed. He turned pale. "The fact that while I was working double shifts to pay for your university, you were living like a millionaire on borrowed money. The fact that you considered me too embarrassing to go to your graduation." "Dad, the graduation thing was a misunderstanding. I never wanted." "Sebastian," I said with a calmness that surprised myself, "I spoke with Rosa. I spoke with Don Miguel. I know exactly what you said about me, that it was better if I didn't go because I wouldn't understand the atmosphere, that I was too simple." He remained silent. For the first time in the conversation, he didn't have a quick explanation. "For 22 years, I continued, I have sacrificed everything for you. My comfort, my tastes, my dreams, my money, everything, so you could have the best opportunities. And I did it with love, without expecting anything in return. Dad, I know you've done a lot for me, but it turns out I did expect something in return. I expected respect. I expected that the son for whom I killed myself working wouldn't be ashamed of me. I expected honesty. And I expected you not to see me as an ATM." Tears began to roll down his cheeks. "Dad, I'm so sorry. I know I messed up, but I need your help. If you don't help me, I'm going to lose everything." "Sebastian," I said, "you're going to lose everything anyway. But for the first time in your life, it will be because of the consequences of your own decisions, not because your simple dad couldn't save you." "You're not going to help me?" It wasn't a question. It was a statement full of disbelief. "No, I'm not going to help you." He was silent for a full minute. Then, desperation turned into anger. "I can't believe you're so selfish. I'm your son. Parents are supposed to help their children when they're in trouble. Parents help their children, you're right. But children also respect their parents. And you already made the decision that I wasn't important enough for your life. But, Dad, it was just one event. You can't possibly ruin my future over one graduation." One graduation. As if it were just anything. As if it weren't the most important moment of your academic life. As if it weren't something that would have filled me with pride after all the sacrifices. Sebastian got up from the couch, pacing back and forth in the living room. "Okay, I made a mistake, but I already graduated. It's over now. I need real help, Dad. Financial help, not sermons. I already gave you my answer. So, what am I supposed to do? What do you want me to do? I want you to learn. I want you to face the consequences of living beyond your means. I want you to understand that money is earned by working, not by lying." He stood in the middle of the living room, looking at me with an expression I had never seen, a mixture of hatred, disbelief, and panic. "You know what, Dad? Maybe I was right about the graduation. Maybe you weren't the type of person who should have been there." There was his true personality, unmasked. "Maybe not," I replied. "But at least I'm the type of person who doesn't lie to his family. The type of person who works for what he has." The type of person who doesn't abandon someone who needs him. He left, slamming the door. From the window, I saw him get into his BMW and speed off furiously. I wondered how much longer he could keep that car. The following months were revealing. Sebastian lost the apartment, just as I had predicted. He had to move into a small room on the poor side of town. He sold the BMW and bought a 10-year-old used car. He got a job at a small company that didn't check his credit history, earning half of what he expected to earn with his degree. Andrea left him 2 months later. Apparently, a boyfriend with financial problems didn't fit into her life plans. The important friends from university also drifted away when they realized he could no longer invite them to expensive restaurants. I, meanwhile, for the first time in 22 years, started spending money on myself. I bought new clothes. I replaced the refrigerator that had been making noise for 10 years. I joined a gym. I started dating a very nice woman I met at work. Sebastian tried to call me several times during those months. I didn't answer any calls. I had made the decision that if he wanted a relationship with me, it would have to be on terms of mutual respect, not financial need. 6 months after our last conversation, I received a handwritten letter. Not a text message, not an email, a real letter. Dad, it said, I've had time to think, to really understand what I did, to live in the real world for the first time in my life. You're right. I was ungrateful, a liar, and a terrible son. I'm not asking you for money. I'm not asking you to rescue me. I'm just asking you for a chance to show you that I can be the son you deserve. If you give me that chance, I promise you will never again have to be ashamed to call me your son. The letter was 3 pages long. It was the first time Sebastian had written me anything since the Father's Day cards when he was a child. I called him that same night. We talked for 2 hours. For the first time in years, we had a real conversation, without lies, without manipulation, without pretensions. Just a father and a son who were learning to know each other again. Sebastian now lives in a modest but decent apartment, manages his money responsibly, and is paying off his debts little by little with his own work. 3 months ago, he invited me to dinner at his apartment. He cooked himself, no expensive restaurants. During dinner, he told me something I will never forget. Dad, thank you for not rescuing me. If you had given me that money, I would never have learned. I would have remained the same irresponsible person as always, but with my debts paid. Sometimes the greatest love you can give a child is not giving them what they ask for, but letting them learn that decisions have consequences. Sometimes being a good father means saying no, even if it hurts your soul. Sebastian and I are still rebuilding our relationship, but now it's based on mutual respect, not financial dependence. And that, after all, is worth more than any money in the world to any father. To any father who is reading this and feels identified, loving our children does not mean rescuing them from all their bad decisions. Sometimes the greatest gift we can give them is the opportunity to grow, even if that means watching them fall first. True paternal love is not always comfortable, but it is always worth it. Sometimes the hardest love is the one that teaches us to value ourselves.